Thank you, Daisy, for joining us today. I'm really excited to hear a little bit about your story and what your journey has been as a first generation college student and as an HDF scholar. So if you can first tell us, like your name, your major, where you go to school, so that our audience can get to meet you.
Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Daisy Garcia Montoya. I'm currently a senior at UMKC. I'm studying political science and communications with a minor in international studies and criminology.
That's a lot. So
Yes.
what do you plan on doing with all of it? It's kind of like so broad and also so interesting.
Thank you. That is the question. I really like journalism. I've loved writing. I first started with just journalism, but then I realized I really like politics, and I would like to write about it. But how would I write about it if I didn't really understand how politics worked? So
Yeah.
that's kind of where I decided to go into political science. And then with international studies, it was really related with political studies. I mean,
Hmm.
political science. So it was just like an easy minor to get. And then criminal justice, I just think with, the social justices that we are seeing every day, just learning more about how that all works, I thought it was just something super interesting. So I wanted to take
Hmm.
it.
That's awesome. What piqued your interest in, political science, politics and government? Do you remember kind of like what was the moment or event that made you think this is what I want to learn more about and do?
hmm I feel like for the longest, I used to say, I hate politics. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to know about it. But then something that my mom would always say is like, I don't know why you hate it if you're always like arguing. And, in politics, they're always debating. I think once she started saying that, I was like, huh. And then I started paying attention to like, I like reading the news. And a lot of the news is often like focused on politics. So I feel
Hmm.
like that kind of like gathered my interest, and then also just seeing like all the injustices that we see, how it is often based on policy and politics,
Hmm.
especially like with when it comes to immigration. And I see a lot of my family members, people that I love, people that I care about, be truly impacted by this. So I feel
Hmm.
like that was definitely one of those moments I was like, okay, I need to understand this.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. So, kind of, and related to that, tell us a little bit about your journey to higher education and how, this semester you're nearing completion. So you'll be graduating in May. What has that journey been like for you?
I feel like it's definitely been great. I've loved college so far. I mean, I think I probably will always love it. I feel like I can definitely see a growth within myself within the 4 years. Like I look
Hmm.
back and I was like, I was so clueless. I didn't know how to navigate these things. Um, for me, I am a first generation student. It was hard, especially when it came to applying to schools, know what credit hours were, finding scholarships. It was difficult because in my family, my parents, even though they were supportive, they were motivating me, they didn't necessarily know how to help me in those steps in that process.
Yeah.
So I had to look elsewhere. Luckily, I had amazing older cousins that were able to help me along the way, teachers, mentors. So I'm really grateful to them, because I think without them, I wouldn't have gotten the full. I have a full scholarship called the Block Scholarship,
Oh, wow.
that has been able to help me along the way. So then, when I first started, I started at MCC Pin Valley. It was so great. I love the atmosphere there. It was so diverse, not even in like race wise, but age wise. So you were
Mm,
going to school with people who had been to school and then had gone out and then came back. So I thought it
yeah.
was really interesting to see those perspectives. Um, and then after that, once I was at Pin Valley, I was really looking forward to UMKC. Like I was so ready because although I had a great experience at Pin Valley, there weren't as many clubs that you can join, so you're a
Hmm.
little limited to that. So then once I got to UMKC, I was so excited because most of my classes were going to be about things that I was interested in. They weren't just going to be, your gen eds, the possibility of meeting new people, new
Yeah.
clubs. So I was really excited. Um, I get to UMKC, and unfortunately, the first semester was a rough one. I
Mhm.
really, really loved my classes because I was really scared that once I got to UMKC, that once I took those classes for my major, that I wasn't gonna like it. Like I was really scared. I was
Yeah.
like, what if journalism isn't for me? What if I don't like it? Like I was so terrified. But I found out that I really loved it. Like there is truly a passion in there for me. But it was so lonely. It felt
Yeah.
so lonely.
What
It
was the piece that was like lonely? Like how did you feel lonely? Was it coming from like a smaller place or um
I feel like it didn't help that I transferred it in spring. So
oh
I
yeah.
feel like there's like less activities to get those transfer students or new students in. So there
Mm-hmm.
wasn't much of that. Already people start normally to start in fall. So if they
Yeah.
already have friends, they kind of already like, okay, this is my friend group. I don't know if you can join. And then because I feel like I loved the size of UMKC. Like I liked it was big enough. But then also just in my classes, it was the first time in probably in years since probably elementary school where um I sometimes was like the only Latina
Yes.
or like the handful of, BIPOC students in that class. So that felt a little like imposter syndrome, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until like midway in my first semester that I got involved with Avanzando, the mentoring program at UMKC for Latino students, and LSU, though at that time was called ALAS. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where I met most of my friends. And after that, it's been great.
Yeah. Well, that, speaking of LSU, that's how you and I originally met, with the Cambio para Cambio
Mhm.
campaign that HDF has been leading now for a few years. And it started out as something, small and humble, and it's just turned
Mhm.
into such an amazing community and student led fundraising campaign for a scholarship program. So for those people like who've never heard of Cambio, how would you explain it and why is it like meaningful? Because I heard since I was overseeing the division that you won yet again. So UMKC's undefeated champions, right?
Yes. Go Roos.
Go Roos,
um,
go Roos.
what
I
is it
just
called?
I have to be like, objective because I was with all the college
Mhm.
divisions. So everybody's a champion. And at the same time, you guys are not willing to let go of your title.
If I were to explain Cambio para Cambio for someone who has never heard of this before, I would say it's a month-long fundraiser where you get really involved with the community and teachers and other students, and you're really just working together to give back to the community. So it's just like fundraising money. You can choose, what you are particularly wanting to donate that money to. But
Mm-hmm.
for us at LSU, we wanted to donate that back to DACA students because like they tend to have less opportunities when it comes to funding. So I would explain it as that, but I would also explain it as just like a month filled of so many emotions. You're sometimes you get a little stressed, sometimes you get so excited. You get to meet so many people. It's honestly a great opportunity. Just being involved with it, I feel like it. You learn so much about yourself, how to work with others, working with the team, and it's a roller coaster. But I would say it's a really good one, and especially when you see the impact of it.
Yeah. Well, you all did a really great job. I remember us getting on that phone call on the last day when we're gathering up the numbers, and I was sure you all were not going to get it because there was another team that we knew was getting big donations, and then you came through like with your shoebox full of literally quarters and dollars and everything, and people just kept sending you like Venmos, and um, it was so fun just being part of that. And I got to participate like in your t-shirt sales and your empanada sales, and you all really went the extra mile. And so I think it's very meaningful that you don't get anything out of this directly, and that you're wanting to see, fellow students, specifically like you mentioned, DACA or undocumented, who don't have the same access to higher education, that you all want to be part of their educational journey. Like some people you mentioned have helped you with your mentors and everyone. Now you want to pay it forward. And so with Cambio para Cambio, the fact that, if you raised $50 and then it's automatically matched, by generous donors, it becomes 100. And then if you go to one of our matching schools, then they also match the scholarship. So I really appreciate everything that you did to, help us with this initiative this year. And I look forward to you continuing to be part of Cambio para Cambio as alumni.
Yes, for sure. I'm so excited.
So speaking a little bit about, your involvement with community, with school, what has been, I know you've done a lot. Your LinkedIn is impressive.
Thank you.
So what has been like your favorite work or community experience thus far?
That is a really hard one because I feel like
Yeah.
I've learned so much from a lot of them. But I would say one that is was really meaningful and continues to be really meaningful to me was my time at Maddie Rhodes. Um, I remember getting that job, and it was just kind of like I needed a job. It worked fine with my schedule. I really liked
Mm.
it. It paid well. It was fine, and it was a good organization, of course. But my job was being basically a soccer coach for kids. I
Oh,
I come
you
from a
played sports? Did you grow up playing sports?
okay, that's where we're gonna get to. So I
Should
come
we
from a
not go
family.
there?
I come from a family who loves soccer.
Yeah.
I love soccer. They all played soccer. My father played soccer. My sister plays soccer. My younger sister. I always wanted to play soccer growing up, and I would always tell my dad, teach me or whatever, and like know how to kick the ball. And then high school came, and I was ready to try out for soccer, but one thing leads to another, and I ended up in volleyball. I never even tried out for soccer. It just I don't know, volleyball, a lot of my friends encouraged me to start playing it, so I did. So I played volleyball in high school for like 2 years. And
Hmm.
then um, after that, yeah, I end up at Maddie Rhodes with this job because my sister was going to their practices. They have local free practices after school for anybody wanting to learn the basics of soccer and just get involved and be healthy. And so my sister would go. And so they were having like a recruitment yeah, they were just recruiting like new workers at Pin Valley, and I knew the coach. And then we're just, he's like, "Hey, how are you doing?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Why don't you work with us? You're always with your sister anyway at her practices." And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, and I was like, I don't even play soccer." And so yeah, so that job just they interviewed me, they offered me the job, and so it was great. And I was really self-conscious because I mean I know the basics of soccer, but I wouldn't at that time wouldn't consider me a soccer player. And even now I wouldn't say, "Oh wow, I'm a soccer player." I can do decent, but nothing like that. But the and I remember thinking to myself, I was like, I think I'll probably just like get this job for like a little bit, like just while I find something new. I ended up loving that job so much.
So you've been an HDF scholar for how many times now?
During my four this This will be my fourth time receiving the scholarship. So I've gotten it every year since I started college.
Awesome. So what would be one tip that you give, right now our application is open and students are applying for the first time. What would you tell them to focus on as far as their application goes, in order for them to get it, knowing how it's a competitive process?
hmm I would say try to get on it beforehand. I know that there's a wide, admission process or timeline, but I would say don't wait till last minute to do it. Um, and I would say take time when you're writing that essay because there's always an essay component to the scholarship
Hmm.
application. So I would say take the time to really, go over it, read the prompt, think about it, and even have somebody like read over it. And that really helps, whether that be a teacher or even another friend. Because sometimes when you're writing yourself, and even if you read it, you sometimes like don't see something until somebody points it out, and you're like, "How did I miss that?" So it's those
Yeah.
little things. Hmm.
Okay. Awesome. Well, you're the pro. You've done it 4 years. So, what does it mean to you to be an HDF scholar for the fourth year?
To me, it feels amazing. I'm super grateful to the foundation for everything they've done for me, and not just me, many others. And it means to me, having a support system outside from home and just being able to connect with so many different scholars, alumni, again, mentors, or, people from the foundation that have really helped me around in this college process and has made it easier, not just because of the money they give you, but just because the support that you have. It feels good to have, another otra familia afuera
Yes.
de la casa.
Yes, girl. That's awesome. Well, I look forward to, after you graduate, to becoming involved as a mentor, as a tutor, helping us with the workshops. And so I'm really looking forward to that. And I just have one last question. So a couple of years ago, this is our 37th year. We had a big 35th anniversary
Mhm.
celebration with like keynote speakers and everything. Where could we find you for our 40th in a couple of years? Where could we find Daisy to invite her to come to the celebration? What are you gonna be doing? You gonna come to our celebration?
Yes, of course, I will be there. By then, I would hope to have my master's degree done in public administration, and either if I'm not reporting, I'm hopefully working with a local nonprofit.
Nice. Okay. Well, I'm gonna hold you to that. Is there anything else that you want to add, to our interview here? Anything else that you would like to say?
Yeah, so I would just say again, thank you to the foundation for everything they do for everyone and just the resources they give. But just to, I know you have, there's so many people who donate, that they
Hmm.
are giving back to us, and just like for future um, donors and everybody, you make a huge impact on us by supporting this foundation. You allow us to buy books, you allow us to feel more confident in ourselves, especially as a, Latinx and being a minority. You really help us feel more like, okay, I have people that I can count on. So
Yes.
your support in every way possible is so helpful, and I feel like this is a foundation that if you haven't heard about them before, you should definitely like stay tuned to them because they're so helpful. And I feel like a lot of my peers are the future leaders of, not even KC, just the United States and just in general.
Yes.
So to be able to support a foundation like this one, I think, is worth it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time and for your wisdom and for always being an supporter of the development fund. And so I look forward to seeing where your next steps are going to take you, and to once HDF, always HDF. So thank
Yes.
you again, and we'll be in touch with you.
Thank you so much.